Doctors are rich. No, doctors are poor. Doctors are very stingy. No, they're generous. So all this tie down to how people perceive our financial strengths, be it our parents, siblings, other family members, friends, neighbors, and the rest. There was this post that I saw on social media that was the straw that just broke the camel's back and the camel hair, and it forced me to do this video. I had been contemplating, many people had suggested this, but somehow I've been lazy to do my proper research. But that post, which I'm now sharing with you guys to read, is what really pushed me to do this, bringing us to this question: are doctors rich? In today's video, I will carry you along a journey, and at the end, you would objectively conclude as to whether doctors are rich or not. There are some certain sets of people that are actually interested in this video. The first set are doctors themselves. And that's because we're tired of explaining all these things to people. So this video might be what we're going to use to present to you and show you our financial capabilities by having convincing answers that we could back up our claims as to whether we are rich or not. The second set of people that this video will interest are medical students or those that are aspiring to be medical doctors. And let's be factual. Part of the reason you're pursuing whatever you're pursuing is to be able to take care of yourself financially. That doesn't just mean having finances to take care of your needs or some of your wants, but also be able to pursue some of your desires and even your hobbies. You can be able to drop medicine sometimes because you're rich enough to partake in hobbies that may or may not fetch you wealth, whichever one it is. It's not wrong for you to want to be rich. You want to know whether becoming a doctor grants you that desire. The next set of people are family members, parents, siblings, distant relatives that want their award to be a doctor. Let's say the truth, especially in developing countries. It's not as if your parents want you to be doctors because they're thinking, there are too many sick people in this world. I would sacrifice my son or my daughter to at least be another hand to take care of the sick, and our family can contribute towards relieving the burdens of health challenges. Maybe there are some families that are like that, but most of our families, they want us to be there because medicine, it's difficult for you to lose your job and you have a steady source of income. Some of them dream that you'll be rich. They have that notion that you're going to be a rich person too. So parents and other relatives, would this be the video to convince you? The next are those that want to be doctor spouses. I want to marry a doctor so that I'll be able to fly around the world, buy designers and the rest, flaunt this or not. There's nothing wrong in wanting to marry a rich person too. Then the last set of people are those that do not fall in any of these categories that I had mentioned earlier but are still interested in this video. I'm sure that if you've reached this point, you're already one of them. So let's dive into today's video. Okay, to start, we need to define the word rich. Being rich can vary depending on context or perspective, but generally it refers to having a significant amount of wealth or assets. This includes high income, significant saving, valuable properties, and other resources that can afford financial security and the ability to afford a luxurious lifestyle. So based on this definition, there are some keywords that are jotted down and I'll expound on them, which will lead us to the conclusion as to whether doctors are rich or not. The first is high income. Does medicine pay highly? The second is significant savings. Do we earn so much that we cannot just only save, but save significantly? The third is valuable properties. The question now is, what properties of value does an average doctor have? And please note the word properties. Plural, not property. Next is other financial resources. That's apart from money itself. Having money, and they're also having other resources that can fetch you money too. How many doctors have that? And these resources should be able to provide you first financial security. You are not afraid. Sometimes when money does not come, it will just totally derail you. You're not scared of that because you have enough to be able to buffer all these bumps and they won't affect your lifestyle at all. The last word to note is the luxury. Most times that's the first picture that comes to people's mind. You can go anywhere you want to go, buy anything you want to buy at any point in time. So can doctors really do that? Now we'll finish with the keywords. Let's touch them one by one, and I give you some of the details as to how an average doctor's life fits into all of this. The average doctor's salary is decent, and that's me using the word decent decently. It's quite good. However, not all doctors are doctors in terms of financial pay because some specialties pay more than others. So you have some doctors earning sometimes more than double, sometimes even triple what another doctor will get, like neurosurgery, cardiothoracic surgery, and others. I'll do a video on the highest paying specialties very soon, and the lowest paying specialties too, so that as a doctor you can choose where you want to settle down based on your financial desires or your financial projections. Despite the fact that we earn more money than average worker, yes, there's some people that earn more than us. The thing is, we actually put in more hours of work, much more than other workers do. So if you are to divide our pay by the average hours of work we do, an average doctor earns many times less than even a worker, but just that we put in more work. But before you even start seeing that main doctor money, you have to be a specialist, and specialty training is different. In some countries like the US, you have to become a specialist, and this is an extra training after medical school. It might take an average of 4 years and sometimes up to 10 years for you to become that. That means extra years of training, extra money put into the training before you now reach that stage that you start earning the money. Note this particular thing because it's going to be relevant later on in the course of our discussion. And at the end of training, most doctors become clinicians. Clinicians mean we work in the hospital. Yes, there are doctors that do not work in the hospital. There are some that, despite the fact that they work in hospitals, they do not have any contact with patients. That will be a video for another time. And another thing to note is that some countries pay more than others. Some pay very well, whereas other countries really don't do well when it comes to the average pay of doctors, and that tends to affect how the doctors live. So in some countries, yes, your average salary is way more decent than others, whereas in some other countries, you can't really brag about that. It makes sense that doctors that work in those countries that pay less will struggle more in terms of finances. Another thing to note is that the richest doctors are not practicing clinicians. Some that are even practicing are mixing it with other businesses that generate that amount of money to make them as rich as they are. But most of us end up working in the clinic. We really don't have the time to do those other things, and that's why it confines us to a place of just being decent. But if you want to be super rich, then doing clinical practice is not sufficient to carry you to that particular stage. So for those that want to be rich doctors, I would advise you to do your research, especially if you are yet to enter into specialty training. Do your research properly and look for those particular practices or those particular areas of specialties that pay way more, and then go into them. Don't just think that by becoming a doctor automatically you'll be super rich. There's more to gaining money than just being an average practicing clinician. This leads us to the next point, which is significant savings. As I stated earlier, for you to be able to save means that you earn way more than you spend and you now have change. And that can be due to either of these two reasons. The first is that you earn way more than you can spend. And the second one is that you try to be decent in your spending, that you spend less than you earn, irrespective of how much you earn. It could also be a mixture of both. You earn way more and you're still decent in your spending. And that change that remains is something that you can be able to save. The quality of being rich means that you have significant savings. It's not just saving, something that is significant. Most doctors will not be able to beat their chest and tell you that. I'm one of such. In the US, based on the statistics, according to Medscape Physicians' Wealth and Debt Report of 2023, about 60% of physicians in the US report a family net worth exceeding the national average. Even so, they become increasingly careful in their spendings, as 45% of physicians said that their families live below their means. Though our average earnings is more than that of other workers, we barely have enough to save, and that's due to many factors. Medical training is one of the most expensive training in the world, and many students in the course of training to become medical doctors gather a lot of student loans, many reaching hundreds of thousands of dollars, which they have to pay back. And another thing is, as soon as you become a doctor, your initial earnings are not really much. So imagine earning not much and having to pay these loans. Averagely, we struggle with that, and paying back might take decades. Then for we that schooled in countries that we didn't even have student loan to take, it's still expensive, and our parents pay the price for that. So many of them even derail their career and their financial success to train us, and it comes at a price, because they know that once we become doctors, we're going to pay them back. And not just pay them back, but also carry on their responsibilities. So you find out that quite a lot of us are breadwinners in the house. So with the initial small money we're getting after becoming doctors, we are now taking care of both our parents, our siblings, and other people that we are financially obligated to. That derails us to a large extent. So you might even find out that even if we don't spend up to what we earn, we have little to be able to save subsequently. Then the training itself, even after you've graduated and you enter into specialty training, you have to pay for a lot of things. You pay for your exams. If your exams happen to be in a different location, you have to transport yourself to the place. If it's in another country or another state, you pay for your transportation, you pay for accommodation, feeding, and the rest. And many courses, trainings that you have to do, equipments you have to buy. So even in the specialty training, you still spend money while you're paying your loan and also having responsibilities. For those that have families, you also have to provide for your family. So all these make it quite difficult for doctors to be able to save. If they can save at all, they won't be able to save significantly, especially during those early years. If you're a doctor that has not experienced this, then you're quite fortunate, because quite a lot of doctors have been facing this particular struggle. So this leads us back to the question again. As a doctor, have you been able to save? Do you have any savings? And can you say the savings are significant? Let us know in the comment section. But this is not to throw people for people to start locating people that can save and go and start billing them. The next point is having valuable properties. How many of us have assets? That's simply the definition of valuable properties. And it's people with significant savings that can acquire assets, because it's not as if you get these assets free of charge. You spend to get them. They eventually give you way more money than you spend, especially if you do the right forms of investment. And as I said earlier, it's not just properties, not just one. It's not that you have a car. Yes, your car can fetch you money, but then when you now sell it, you won't have anything to transport yourself. Or you have a house, and when you are now in financial difficulties, you sell the house and then you're now homeless. No, we're talking about things that you could sell and they wouldn't affect your day-to-day average financial requirements. Do you have them? From the earlier 2 points I've mentioned, you see that it becomes increasingly difficult for an average doctor to be able to acquire such, especially in their early years of training, except for those that come from wealthy families. I'd already taught you how to have financial sense or financial intelligence and not be as reckless as quite a lot of us are due to our financial illiteracy. Then the next is having other financial resources. Wealth is not only a measure of cash or money you have. There are other resources that can fetch you money if need be, and that could include intellectual property such as patents, copyrights, and the rest. They could include investments such as bonds, stocks, and the rest too. Most doctors cannot claim to have any of this, because most people that are able to have this are people with financial literacy and the discipline to do so, which quite a lot of us lack. I've done a video on why doctors are not rich. You can watch it to be able to have a full context of why I am making this particular bold statement. When you have such things, in case something happens, there are cushions for you, because the financial resources are to help you to secure yourself financially. Having these financial resources are for majorly two reasons. The first is financial security. So money flow can be turbulent. We know that some days they are there, sometimes in abundance, some days are not there. Although we doctors, our pay is usually via salaries majorly. So at the end of the month, we are sure of that. But some things can happen. Like when I was in Nigeria, there were times that I didn't see my salary at the end of the month. That's a discussion for another day. Even when I was in Saudi, there was something that happened that I didn't get paid. And that was from a mistake that I made. And that really shook me. It did. If I had financial resources to cushion that, it wouldn't have really happened to me in that way. But this is not something you want to go through at all. So you having these resources help you that even when money does not come, these other resources can be able to bring in the cash and make you to be able to continue to live your life with the same degree of financial freedom without affecting you. You eat as much as you want, you spend as much as you want, and you still save as much as you want. How many can claim that? The second point is that you should be able to afford a luxurious lifestyle, which is the way an average person sees A rich person, you should be able to buy whatever you want to buy at any point in time. You should be able to travel to wherever, at whatever time, with ease. Get your private jets, buy very expensive cars, buy designers, whatever you want to do, you can just easily get them. You see, most of these things are not assets. They're actually liabilities. They suck money from you, but it's only the rich that can afford that particular amount of money sucking. So if you have something that is sucking you financially and you're not rich, it's a liability, you would suffer. So the rich people can be able to afford that, buy private jets, own their private yard, travel whenever they want to, do whatever they want to. An average doctor cannot do that too. I don't even need to drag that, because we've seen from the earlier points that we even have to reach a particular stage to be able to afford liabilities and luxury. So we've reached this point in this video. Doctors, do you think you are rich? Those that are no doctors personally, do you think that they are rich? I think the answer is very obvious. If I've answered you, please let me know in the comment section below. If you are not convinced or you have other points, let me also know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video and share it with as many people as possible. So, thank you.